Welcome to the Sales Acceleration Show. Today we have Ludwig from Willow. Am I saying that right?
You're saying it exactly right.
.co, not .com, because I made a mistake.
.com domain name was like, I think it was $2 million to buy, so we kind of decided to pass on that for now.
For $6 you had CO.
Yeah,
got it.
But it's a bit more, but hey.
Ludwig does something that I really, really like. We're going to talk about content, we're going to talk about thought leadership, we're going to talk about personal brands, teams versus the whole shebang. That's actually what the software does, but I said, don't sell it, just give us value. So let's start with the first thing. What to post. People don't have an idea what to post. It's one of my biggest fights with people again. So how do you solve it? How does it work?
I think the most important thing when you're deciding on what you want to post, you need to kind of have a framework that allows you to decide on that. And having a clear framework that basically says, hey, we're gonna post more about employer branding, like our content should be more focused on authenticity or should maybe be a bit more geared towards sales, already helps you to define what you want to post.
So let me do what customers ask me.
All right.
You have a framework, you know where to go, but we haven't answered the basic question, which is it you or is it the company? How do we balance that?
That's
and
good.
I said we.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I actually always think it always starts from people, because if you think about a company, it's still a collective of people, right? So
that's true.
But
companies are always afraid if somebody that's not the founder or doesn't have shares, when they leave, you have this big gap, this issue. That's something classic corporate comes back, says Michael. We gotta be careful. We gotta let them sign the documents, and people, when they have to sign documents, they go like, yeah, not me.
Yeah, there I'm a bit more a fan of, like, again, authenticity. Just let people be people. Of course, not everybody's going to say all the things you want them to say, but still it's going to be very personal. And I think if you really want to like shine on social media, and if you really want to appeal to people, like authenticity and personality need to intertwine. So if you try to orchestrate it too much from the company's perspective, you're going to have like very artificial, unauthentic content, and it's kind of a trade-off that you need to make, right? But I think it's definitely like more a Belgian thing, trying to control everything. But in the States it's way less the case.
So how do they do it there?
I think
it could be interesting, because most of our viewers are European and some Asian. That's even again different, but let's stay in Europe for a while.
I think there it's a bit of a I would call it grassroots kind of a movement. So it starts from somebody who has an idea and wants to do something, and then I think it's super important that you just, as a company, quote unquote, that you basically facilitate that person in creating the content and building his or her.
So how do you facilitate? You give them pieces of text, or because that's typically but I'm not a copywriter, I don't know how to write and.
Yeah, I think it's like, first and foremost, you need to have like a good conversation with that person to kind of understand what their idea is, right? Because otherwise they might do whatever. But once you have the idea, it's really easy to ask them the question like, how can we help? What do you need? And some people are a bit better in like coming up with the inspiration themselves. Others are more focused on like the professionalism with which they want to work. So then it's about like understanding what it is exactly that you can help with.
So when I was checking your content and the way you do your website, so one of the classic questions I would have is, so if I'm a sales guy, I want to start with it. Your website your software tries to solve the inspiration part, because that's the hardest part.
Always know what to post.
Always know what to post. So what's the magic behind it, or there is no magic, it's just...
It's
be mysterious now. Be mysterious now.
There's a lot of magic, and I have a womb, etc. No. It's actually not that magical. It is cool technology. That's a different thing. But I think for us, the biggest differentiator is that we're able to help people in figuring out what do they need to post by, again, like offering them, for example, certain templates that they can use to create a post. Like, hey, you want to do an employee highlight? How should I go about this, right? In combination with really curating content that is relevant for them to share on their channels, because it reflects who they are and what they want to do, but it's also appealing to the kind of audience that they want to reach on social media. And I think those two things, like helping them with like post ideas and then helping them with like content through a recommendation engine is basically the crucifix of things.
So when they start posting, they start creating mini personal brands. So
exactly.
how do you say that? How do you mix that with a company? Is it like more of a team effort focused on one vertical, or would you, now I'm going to sales, would you kind of keep it open and say, no, it's more employer branding, or it really depends?
It really depends, and that's also where, like what you said before, right? How can you like help them? I think it's also like helping them to figure out what it is that they want to reach, because the thing with social media, I believe, is you have a lot of people sharing a lot of things on social media, but it's very hard to kind of find a common denominator. Are they doing this like because they want to focus more on, you know, sales, or do they do this because they want to focus more on employee branding? So it's like figuring out what the objective is in the beginning that is then going to define what kind of content you should share. But a lot of people forget that step.
And it's always team, a mix of people.
In our case, or
or what would you recommend to companies?
what do you think?
I would always recommend a team. Because you have the highest span, the way, how do you say that? You go more with.
You have
because
like,
you have any organization you're trying to reach has hierarchy, and you're trying to. Well, I think they're not really happy
with your answer, or maybe with my question. I
here,
don't know,
throw something.
Where should I, to the dog?
To the dog. Poor dog. The dog is just sleeping.
That's the
I have
problem.
a message.
I have a message. Yeah, you should like unwrap the airplane.
Sorry, guys.
That's like before we had social media,
so here,
people communicate
let me
like
read
this.
what the team just sent me. We want a race live on.
Yeah, that's not a question.
What
for
would
me,
be what would be your answer? You would say yes.
How are you adding value to this company
we
right
just
now?
learned with our previous guest we should give immediate feedback, and I think we should have a really serious conversation after this show. Ludwig, back to you. It was a perfect moment because you didn't know what to answer.
I did know what to answer, but you told me to ask you a question from time to time, so it's true, right?
So I'm just wondering, we talk, Europe is someplace we're still a little bit behind compared to the US. Do they have more of these team strategies going forward? Because on LinkedIn, I start seeing these, like, you take a sales team, or you take multiple people in a company, you start targeting like a vertical and start approaching them that way and posting and all of that. Do you see that more in the US, or you say it's completely not a trend, Michael, you're an idiot? What are you saying to me?
Well, I think you're an idiot, but not because of that. But,
Thank you. See?
No, it's a joke.
I don't even need to ask you guys.
You're brilliant. You know, if you're able to write books, you have to be brilliant.
You have to be brilliant.
There's no other way.
See?
That was good.
We're gonna invite this man again. So anyway.
What was the question again? You still know the question?
Nobody knows the question.
Nobody knows you.
Nobody knows me. By the way, just cha-ching. Yeah, no, seriously. I'm staying humble.
Okay.
Right.
Humble.
So the question, thank God I have this thing. The question was, do you see more of these team coordinated approaches in the US, or is this something very rare that, or you don't see anything like that?
You mean like how they coordinate the social media on a team level? Or?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think the thing with US companies is that the social media or portraying an image of a company is by default something that they do, right?
Yeah.
Where in Belgium or in Europe for that matter, although like there are different markets of course in Europe too, but in Belgium it's more like something that they might do a bit later on. So it's less baked into the culture of how you build a company. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I never looked at it that way, but actually it makes sense.
And
so
that makes a complete
they
difference.
also have been on the forefront, no? Because social media was invented almost there, and they're trying to, and they're in general a bit more
outgoing.
Noisy. Noisy, I would say. If you look to Europe, some countries do better than Belgium because of the noise. Hang on, one thing we haven't touched upon is once I start doing all of this, I create mini personal brands. At the end, the ultimate goal is then thought leadership, to really build it up, or say no, thought leadership is just a side effect?
No, I think thought leadership is, I would call it the means to an end. So it's not, for me, it's not the end goal, but I'm sure that you need thought leadership to realize certain objectives. You're not going to, or you're never going to be the most well-known company that helps other businesses with optimizing their sales processes when you're not like showing the world that you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
so
agreed.
You shouldn't, at least I think that you shouldn't look at thought leadership as an end goal, but it's a means to an end.
Yeah. It's the expertise from within you're actually trying to push and scale, distribute.
Exactly, and then using social media exactly.
So how do you guys build your thought leadership on the platform? Where are you focused? I'm just curious. I'm just asking you an annoying question now.
Who we are focused on with Willow, or
so how are you building the thought leadership of Willow? Is it you on stages? Is it the blogs? Is it the posts on social? Where are you aiming?
It's actually a combination of different things.
Yeah.
It's first and foremost, of course, like I play a role in that, but it's not about me. It's again, I'm kind of I'm kind of the messenger of the company, right? And I'm trying to use my personal brand and my network to also make sure that like it reflects well what Willow does, right? And then of course it goes way beyond me, right? With Willow, because we've been focusing on specific verticals, we by now know quite well what the challenges are, what the struggles are that they're faced with, and then we just started writing mini books, we call them courses around certain topics, and then you start distributing, and then you have social media to kind of recycle all the content. Then it's about finding the right balance between, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, right? It's finding the right balance between making sure that you have a good library of quality-driven content, and then it's about finding good distribution channels.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And every single time when I watch the website, I have a big smile because I look at it and I'm like, this is almost like, I wrote a whole book about it, and like it's almost like the blueprint of my book. It like literally has the mini guides.
Where do you think we got the idea?
God damn, I should have asked money. He said it on camera, so I can send him a big invoice.
Off the record though.
Off the record though. No. But I really like what you guys are doing. I'm really impressed also with the visual, because I also think that the design aspect, people underestimate it, because the more you make it tangible, because what you're selling is something untangible. Yeah,
exactly.
Right? And it's something you post something and it's kind of gone. I think the way you represent, the way to do it needs to be tangible. I do this in like presentation, I use shade and I use lots of techniques to make it tangible, but it's very difficult to get that really.
Yeah, definitely when you're selling quote unquote software or expertise, it's not like a croissant or a piece of furniture that you can sell. That's the thing.
One of the things why we started doing this type of shows is because finally you could say we've made something. Look, there is something there.
You created something.
I had a guy living next to me and he said, Michael, what do you do? Because I actually
What do you do? What do you do?
I wonder what I do.
Put the camera on Michael. What
outside
do you do?
of annoying my team that's sitting over there and annoying guests and just trying to be obnoxious. No, well, the guy said to me, yeah, Michael, I sell products and I can put them in the trunk of my car. And I said, I had the same for 20 years. I felt guilty because I couldn't do that. That's the reason why I started doing video and wrote a book, because I can finally say, look, you can put it in the trunk of your car. Now, before we leave, any final magical, mythical words to our viewers?
Magical, mythical words. I would say don't overthink getting active on social media and creating content, because then that's the exact moment when you don't do it. Yeah. So I think take a bit more of the proactive atmosphere. Done is better than perfect, and by starting to do something and by iterating, you learn and you're gonna get better, and it's gonna be at the point of professionalism where you want it to be. But you need to start, right, guys? That's
why in every email I send to people that just start, I write the words go, go, go. Thank you, Ludwig, for coming to the show.
My pleasure.
I'm so happy I'm finally physically meet you after all these years.
Pleasure.
If you like the show, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. Although they told me I should never say that, but I still gonna do that.
You need to like a real. De non blaft niet, dat doet.
Nog niet, dat komt zelfs. Twee Maries bij, een Pinke, een Cara Pinke, dat missen we nog.